Welcome back to Dollhouse of Offering. We're doing this once again live with the supporters. If you guys want to watch these type of games live, then just become a supporter through YouTube, here, or on Sinfully Pure, my other channel, Patreon, Subscribestar, or Twitch. Because Twitch people get a link to the Discord too. So let's continue. It was morning in Rigaku Shopping District, and as usual, there was a crowd. Wrong button. Most of the villagers in Nanawawa worked in the fields, but many of the wives, as well as some of the servant girls, worked in their family kitchens. Most of them did their shopping in the mornings. Later in the evening, there would be a lot of men out to pick things up after they'd finished work for the day, but at the time, there were very few of them.
とは言いましても、昔よりははるかにマシになったと、うちのじいさんも申しておりました。
The owner of the cafe, out on the porch, with a serving tray in hand, was speaking with passion.
裕福になったということか？
なんでしょうね。近代化とか言うんでしたか？生活に余裕はできましたね。
ああ。確かに、食うに困っているやつは見ない。それだけでも、ありがたいことなのかもしれないな。
まったくで。
Sipping his tea and taking a bite of his kusa dango, Karu nodded with the cafe owner. It had been a month since he and Kyoko finished visiting each of the 7 noble houses.
若旦那も、随分とこなれなさいましたな。
Are you complaining that I like your food?
覚えるのが早いとは、よく言われる。
アホよりはよっぽど結構なことですよ。いや、すいません。こんなこと言っちゃ失礼ですな。
構わない。まだ慣れていないのも事実だからな。至らないところがあれば言ってくれればありがたい。気を使われて陰口を叩かれる方が困る。
Oh, don't worry. They could still tell you what's wrong and do that.
四季様もそうおっしゃっておいででしたか？
どうだろうな。ただ、道元様もあまり上からの味方に固執しないように努めてらっしゃるように見受けられる。七名家などと言っても、所詮、一皮むけば普通の村民と何も変わらん。そこを勘違いしてはいかんとのことだ。
The Shiki seem to be the only ones of the noble houses that feel like that. Kyaru finished his tea, then shot a glance at the cafe owner, was sharp but calm.
婿の俺が、それに逆らうわけにはいかないだろ
う。だから仕方なく、日を置かず通ってくださっているのですな。
That to get away from Karu for a little, or Kyoko for a little while.
そんなに多くはないだろう。3日前に来たきりだぞ。
そうでしたか？毎日お姿は見ているもので。
そうかもしれないが。そうか。
そうですとも。
そうか。
そういうのをこなれたというのですよ。おい。
The owner signaled one of the waitresses to bring more tea.
よくわからないな。
Unable to tell whether Kyaru was being serious or not, the cafe owner looked at him with a quizzical expression that mirrored Kyaru's own.
クロさんこれも持っていきましょう。あちらも見てきますね。
Now we know why Kyaru just chills at the shop. Or at the cafe. Kyoko added her bags to the huge pile of clothes, treats, and trinkets already beside Kyaru and trotted off in a hurry. So, bets on her getting kidnapped?
お嬢様もお元気で何よりです。若旦那が来ただけであんなにお美しくなられるとは。
そんなに変わったか？
ええ、変わりましたとも。つぼみがようやく開いたといった風情ですな。 村の者たちみんなそう思っておりますよ。
ならいいんだが。
若旦那は四季のお嬢様がお嫌いで？
いや、嫌いじゃない。だが、京子が俺に寄せる好意に応えられているかどうかは自信がないな。
おやまあ。
The cafe owner slackened his jaw a bit and held his hand to his mouth. Kiaru wondered if he had come across as though he was bragging. He got the impression word would spread about what he had said. They should know what to expect from me by now, I hope. Kiaru had spent most of his life never setting foot outside House Yasaka, but now that Kyoko was dragging him into town every day, people were starting to recognize him.
では、これと、あれも、それも。
京子、ほどほどにしておかないか？
何をおっしゃるのですか。九郎さんのご実家に挨拶に行くのですから、手抜かりがあってはいけません。では、行ってきます。
Oh, you're going to House Yasaka? That's not good. Though I don't think they'll do anything. Kyoko ran off excitedly once again. He tried to stop her several times, but she got carried away. Nothing could stop her.
はい、どうぞ。
ああ、ありがとう。
The waitress handed Kiaru his tea and stared at him intently.
何か？
いいえ、若旦那、やっぱりよーく見ると伊達男ですね。
Oh, lady, no.
これ、なんてことを言ってるんだい。さっさと仕事しなさい。
Smart shop owner.
はーい。
The waitress giggled and moved behind the counter. There, Kiaru saw her whispering with the other waitresses and stealing glances at him.
申し訳ありません。まったく、あいつらと来たら。
謝らなくてもいい。褒められたわけだから悪い気はしないさ。
そうやって甘やかすからまた男前が上がるんですよ。
そうか。悪いな。
なんで私が謝られてるんですかね。まったく。
いや、確かに俺にはそういうところがある。だから京子にやきもきされることも多い。
まったくです。悪い虫が近づいてきても全然追い払わないんですから。
I legitimately just took a drink of orange juice. Oh, that burns. Oh, I wish I hadn't read the ending of that. Oh, that hurts so much. Oh no. This game is gonna slowly kill me.
おかげで私は気が気じゃありません。もっと自衛してください。
そう言われてもな。敵意を向けられてるわけでもなし、邪険に扱う理由がないだろう。
私のためにしてください。
Yeah, the fact she's so jealous is kind of a red flag something bad will happen.
そんなことをしたらお前の評判が下がるだろう。
ひいては四季家のためにもなりませんね。
納得したか？納得いかないなら後からいくらでも付き合おう。
本当ですか？
Man, she's easy.
ああ、いいぞ。いつもみたいでもいつも以上でも構わない。
それは期待させていただきます。最近クロウさんの手のひらで転がされている気がしますが、これはこれで良いものですね。
そうか。ならそろそろ。
ではまだありますので行ってまいります。
You did this to yourself. And with that, Kiaru ran off.
お元気ですな。
俺の前だけああだと聞いているが、本当か？
そうかもしれませんが、今となってみればあちらが素なのでしょう。男も女も色恋沙汰では本性が出ますから。
なるほどな。
そのあたり、若旦那は最初から変わりませんね。
そうか？これでも、親父や他の者たちには学ばせてもらっているんだがな。
そうじゃありませんよ。変に調子に乗ったり、こじれてないってことです。
The owner sighed. It sounded like he was exasperated, but there was a note of amusement there as well.
八坂から婿を取るなんて、最初はどんなもののけが来るかと思ったもんですが、存外まともで。美男子じゃないにしても、よく見れば絵巻物も描く屋の伊達男がマスラオでしょ。そりゃ女連中も騒ぐってもんですよ。整いすぎてるより泥臭さや武々しさがこう来るもんがあるんでしょうね。
持ち上げすぎだと思うが、悪い気はしないな。
Kyaru understood, however, what the owner had said to him. It was a result of House Yusaka's research in blood science. He himself was the fruit of their extensive eugenics program. It wasn't something he had achieved by his own efforts, so there was no reason for him to be proud. But there wasn't any reason for him to reject the praise either. Something seems odd. He was reflecting on what he had observed of life in Nanawawa village up to that point. There isn't much that House Yoshiki has direct control over. There weren't tasks to organize inter-house affairs in the way House Ichikura was. There weren't a political family like House Futara, nor did they care for the ill like House Kazu. They didn't manage shipping like House Gosha, and they weren't responsible for the overall economy like House Riku. They didn't even handle police functions like House Sagusa did. Yet somehow they're the most powerful family in Nanawawa village. Is it just a matter of being popular? Kyaru wasn't able to work out what the reason for that popularity was, but he could see it when he interacted with the villagers.
まあ、これで四季様も頼道様に続いてまともな跡取りができるんだから安心ってものでしょう。
Let's be real, every other house seems a lot more awful than House Shiki right now. That was it. The people saw Dugan and Shiki as trustworthy.
わからないぞ。頼道様はともかく、俺は八坂だからな。乱心して二良様に任せることになるかもしれない。
I can see why the people don't trust the other families. Right now, we haven't seen any major issues with House Shiki, but there has been hints at something.
やめてくださいよ、縁起でもない。今のは黙っててくださいね。
The cafe owner held his finger over his lips in a shushing motion. He knew very well what could happen. Originally, the 7 noble houses were no different from the other families of the village. They were supposed to be representatives. Though he didn't know the circumstances that led to this point, they now held power to govern over the village. But it made sense to him that families such as the 7 noble houses, without any traditions or lineage to speak of, would get drunk on power once they had a taste of it. Even if the first generation resisted its pull, their children would be shaped by it from the moment they were born. House Shiki and House Ichikura seems like the only ones who could realistically be called trustworthy. House Gosha and House Riku weren't that bad, but the villagers had a strong awareness of their susceptibility to outside influences given their respective trades. And their heads of the household only proved that point. But House Shiki had maintained a clean image in the eyes of the villagers, while at the same time maintaining a strong relationship with the mainland. They had ensured that Nanawawa village didn't fall behind in terms of development. And as a result, they had earned the villagers' trust and established a strong foundation for their own power. That seems about right, which means... He was thinking while watching Kyoko from afar. By taking me out on dates around the village, Kyoko is also helping the villagers get to know me. Her intention must be to keep them from grow wary of House Shiki.
クロウさん、もう少し待っててくださいね。
He turned and raised his head to show that he had heard her, then went back to his thoughts, brow furrowed. Right? He had no way of knowing for certain. Well, that doesn't have to be her only intention. Kyaru told himself that and stood up.
お嬢様が戻られるまで待った方がよろしいのでは？
そうすると、またすぐに行ってしまう。その分茶と菓子がかさんで儲かるんだろうがな。
いい、毎度どうも。今後ともどうぞごひいきに。
Yeah, at least he's honest. A wary look on his face, the cafe owner signaled to the waitress to put down their trays.
ああ、それと親父、念のために繰り返し言っておくが。
え？
Kyaru smiled at the man as he paid his bill for the day.
俺は京子を全く、これっぽっちも嫌いではない。それと彼女は、疑問の余地なく綺麗であり、可愛らしいのではないかと思う。断言できないのは、我が身の不徳の致すところだが、不仲だとか変な噂は立てないでくれ。
若旦那。
どうした？
態度でわかるから心配いりませんよ。
The owner didn't seem to have a clue about what Kyaru was talking about.
そうか。ならいいが。
Kyaru gave the man a nod and glanced at the pile of gifts Kyoko had brought for their visit to House Yusaka. He had laid out a cloth under where she had placed them, so all he had to do was tie it to carry them all at once.
クロウさん、もう行かれるのですか？
Girl, you have bought so much shit. Kyoko had returned with a simple but high-quality hairpin. Kyaru nodded to her to add it into the makeshift sack.
出なければキリがないだろう。
そうかもしれませんが、これだけで大丈夫でしょうか？
どうだろうな。まあ、足りないというやつはいないだろう。
You notice we didn't give gifts for any of the other households.
クロウさんがそうおっしゃるなら。
Suddenly, Kyoko stepped closer and grabbed Kyaru's hand. He didn't make any effort to resist. In fact, he stepped forward to meet her.
もうすっかり慣れてしまいましたね。私の手もクロウさんの形を覚えてしまいました。
She started walking, pulling him along.
クロウさんはどうですか？
That's a good one. Kyaru turned the words over in his head, thinking back on everything that had happened in the past month, including their bath together.
覚えていないところの方が少ないぞ。
そうですよね。そうですね。いろいろ。あと少しですから。お互い我慢しましょう。ね。
I don't think he's as horny as you are.
京子は我慢強いな。
あんまり挑発しないでくださいよ。もう。
And had to get a shovel. Well, they're going through a bunch of allergy tests right now. You guys know Miko's had allergies for years. One of the things is having to go through and not give them anything with protein because they can be allergic to certain proteins. He hadn't intended on doing anything of the sort, but he could see that Kyoko was blushing and he felt her squeezing his hand tighter. Her hands are so cold but soft. Kaoru was very accustomed to the sensation at that point. He even enjoyed it. Her hand was a little sweaty at the moment, probably because she was nervous about where they were headed. They were paying a visit to Kyaru's home, although it didn't feel like a home to him, even more so now that he had moved away to join House Shiki. They were going to visit House Yasaka's estate. It was that night before. Just when Kaoru was about to retire for the night, Kyoko came to visit him. It was an unusual thing for her to do, so neither of them were able to guarantee that they'd be able to resist temptation while alone together in his bedroom at night. However, Kyaru knew she was aware of that, so he assumed she was there for some other reason.
相談なら聞こ
Kyaru sat down across from Kyoko, who looked up at him when he spoke.
クロさん、あなたの出自は八坂ですが、お父様やお母様についてはもう伺いました。
う。そうだな。
It had been some time since they had that conversation in the courtyard. I still love her reaction to that. Was like, yeah, so what? Like, that's how much she's messed up in the head. Her reaction was, okay, yeah, don't care. Since then, Kyoko had never brought it up again, nor had she made any effort to talk about her own family. That said, he was growing more comfortable with her and more aware of the fact that the two of them would soon be husband and wife.
突然、どうしたんだ？
はい。ずっと考えていたのですが、クロさんのご実家への、ご両親への挨拶がまだでしたよね。
I don't know, can you talk to the dead?
京子。
わかっています。ですが、早くにご両親が亡くなられて、親同然に育てていただいた方がおられるのですよね。
うん。
伊予殿ですか？
うん。そうだ。
Kyaru didn't think most people would consider the role she played in his life to be more like parent-like, but she was the closest there was to such a thing in his life. The chat's like, does she know what death means? Okay, that's what she means, yeah.
先生が親。親か。うん。
Okay, chat. I am not the only one that thinks the sensei has something to do with this, right? Like his parents' death. I still feel like the sensei sent the dad to kill him. As a test.
いつになく渋い顔ですね。
Because this is my theory on it. The sensei didn't like that the parents were starting to get lovey-dovey and actually, like each other. And probably starting to show Kyaru, how to be normal. And she wanted to put a nix on that.
そうか？そうかもな。まあいいよ。挨拶に行くなら、俺も一緒に行こ
気が進まないのでしたら、私一人でも構いませんが。
う。いや、一緒に行く。京子一人では危ないからな。
That's what has me worried about them going, is he knows if she went alone, something bad would happen. Although they weren't the majority, some Yasaka had long ago lost any ability for reason or to control themselves. Some of them would roam the grounds almost like animals, and it wasn't safe for anyone but those who knew them well to approach. Not to mention that not all of them even look human. There could be a problem if Kyoko fainted. Kyaru heaved a sigh.
そうと決まれば、明日行くか。道元様には許可を取っているんだろう？
Guys, I feel like we're about to get Cronenberg up in here. I'm fine with this.
もちろんです。快諾していただけました。
Kyaru thought that would be the case. How Shiki's power lay in their ties to the mainland, after all. It could only benefit them to strengthen their connection with House Yasaka, which was a critical part of that arrangement.
おじい様もクロさんを見て、八坂とより密接に関わることに決めたようです。これも私たちの仲が良いからですね。
No, you saw how horny you were. There's a difference.
そうなのか？
何を戸惑っているんですか？話を聞いた限りでは、クロさんには尊い血筋も混ざっているのでしょ？ならば、その血を指揮家に入れるというのはとても光栄なこと。もっと自信を持ってください。
Kiara's eyes were wide in shock. He never thought of it that way before.
では、明日の予定ですが、まず午前中はお土産を用意して。
Again, this is the only house that they're actually bringing items, but then again, it's supposed to be his family house, so that makes more sense. Kyoko smiled at Kaoru as she started rattling off the plan she had already made. The next day, the two of them were on the road to House Yasaka Estate. I thought she'd get tired and I would have to carry her. But Kyoko was ahead of Kyaru, who had to carry her luggage, and she was maintaining a decent pace.
クロウさん、こちらで間違いないでしょうか？
ああ、そのまま道なりでいい。
はい。
Kyoko sounded cheerful. She was smiling and there was a bounce in her step, of course. Kyaru knew that she lived an active lifestyle from the month they had been together. Still, he hadn't expected her to be so comfortable with the long hike to the mountain roads.
京子は山でも遊んでたのか？
ええ。八坂の領域にまで踏み込むことは禁止されていましたが、村の近くで遊んでいました。
誰と？
一人ですよ。おじいさまやおばあさまはご立腹でしたが、これでも結構やんちゃだったんです。
Oh, yeah, we got 2 more storms coming, you guys know. We got like 2 more storm fronts they're watching. I really hope they don't hit during the con.
もっとも、今にして思えば、四季家の娘という自覚が薄かったので、反省しています。
自覚が薄かった。
あ、今でもそうじゃないかと思ってませんか？
Apu, is it hurricane season? Well, dumb question. Yes, it's hurricane season for you too, isn't it? Oh, this year's been fun. I was gonna wash my damn car. You're gonna wash your car? It's okay. It's okay. Mother Nature's doing it for you. Mother Nature's like, honey, it's Sunday. You sit and relax and I'll clean your car for you. Why is this not working?
いやいや。
Mama's a bitch. As long as you keep power, you be nice to Mama. Mama Nature's gonna get after your ass for that.
クロウさんという夫を得たことで、私の自覚は急速に増していったのです。
At least you don't have to work today. Give me a second.
今では誰に聞かれても、クロウさんを夫に迎える四季家の妻と言い切れます。
So yeah, once again, guys, we're doing this live in front of supporters. Mostly because it's fun to do these type of games live and get the reactions. Especially with these type of horror-style ones. Because everyone's just joking. And like you should have seen yesterday's, the last episodes, everybody in the chat was going, like, just laughing and having a blast over the dialogue. Like, you can have a lot of fun in chats with this. It's a shame we can't do them live on YouTube or Twitch, but Discord lets us do all.
私はあなたによって成長したのですから、クロウさんも育てた自覚を持ってくださいね。
俺が育てたのか？
これからも育てるんですよ。私の心だけじゃなくて、体も、あと一緒に、ちゃんと子供も作ってくれるんですよね。
Well, my thing is, do you guys think she's mentally ready to have kids? Even in the middle of a difficult hike, Kyoko was trying to be cutish and spoke in a sweet, high-pitched voice.
ああ、作るよ。ちゃんと腹ませるから安心してくれ。
You're welcome, Mark.
そうですよね。クロウさん、私を腹ませるんですもんね。
She'd never get tired of saying that. It's like she wants to get me to say it too. She does. He knew she wasn't rubbing her belly happily for nothing. Maybe I should try to say it first sometimes. He would do it if it was his duty as her fiancé, just as he was thinking that. He saw the front gate of the Yasaka estate coming into view, so he hurried his pace to move ahead of Kyoko.
どうかしましたか？
ここからは俺の後ろについてきてくれ。場所が場所だからな。
What are we gonna see in here?
はい。ぴったりとくっつきます。
Kyoko did as she was told, leaving as little distance between them as possible. She's very brave. or very stupid. He knew she was aware of what monsters the Yusakas could be, yet she was genuinely calm. She's crazy. Just then there was a rustling of branches, like someone climbing a tree. Kiaru could tell it was on purpose, meant to surprise them. There was already someone else above them holding their breath. They must consider me an outsider now that I've been adopted by House Shiki. The thought didn't bother Kiaru. He knew to expect it. When Kiaru and Kyoko finally reached the doors of the gatehouse, they swung open before them.
いやー、久しぶりだね。なになに、ずいぶん成長したじゃない。
Go play EDF, go have fun.
先生こそ変わらないな。
そりゃ、1ヶ月くらいでどうこうならないよ。それと、京子ちゃんもわざわざ挨拶に来てくれてありがとうね。こちらこそ、ご挨拶が遅くなって申し訳ありません。そんな堅苦しいのはいいよ。もう苦労はそっちのものなんだから、好きなようにしてくれていいんだよ。ええ、好きなようにしています。
Wow, she just went right into that one.
されてるよ。
知ってる。ずいぶん仲良くやってるみたいじゃない？仲良く、仲良く、仲良くね。はい。
Kyoko blushed at the implication. Almost as though to cover for her, Kiaru set down the sack he was carrying with a thud.
先生、これ土産だから適当に分けてくれ。京子が選んだから変なのはないと思う。
ありがとうね。大したものではありませんが。いやいや、大したことあるよ。結構値が張るのを選んでたもんね。クロウにはこういうのの感性が欠けてるから、京子ちゃんがお嫁さんでよかった。ちょっとあんた、逃げるみたいに奥に行かないの？
行かないよ。京子を置いていったら何をされるか分かったもんじゃない。
She really has no idea what she's getting into.
いくら私でも四季家のお嬢さんを素材になんかしないよ。それほど足りないわけでもないし。
See, at least Yusaka knows not to mess.
不足してたらするんじゃないか。
上げ足取らないの。ほら、立ち話もなんだし、上がって上がって。
ああ。
I want to see messed up stuff.
お邪魔します。
So, does everyone think Kyoko just figured it out? Kiaru stepped through the gates wearily, with Kyoko clinging to him close behind.
ママ、ゆっくりしていってちょうだい。
Io sat down casually as she made her offhand remark.
はい。
I'm crazy, but those people are nuts. Yep. Kyoko sat down across from her, back perfectly straight, and Kiaru took a seat next to her, cross-legged.
先生、京子が緊張してるんだけど。
私に言わないでよ。それをほぐすのがあんたの役目じゃないの？
ああ。やり方がわからない。
少しは成長したと思ったけど、未だにそんな感じなの。ん？
無理して話さなくてもいいぞ。
大丈夫です。イオ殿、クロウさんはちゃんと成長しています。
Io's having fun with this.
もちろん、最初から変わっていないところもあります。私がどんな醜態を晒しても受け止めてくれるのはそのままですし、いくらでも甘えさせてくれるのはたまりません。
Kiaru was avoiding Io's gaze, but he made no effort to cut Kyoko off. He knew he wouldn't be able to stop her anyway.
クロウさんを前にすると情緒不安定になってしまう自覚があるのに、いつまでもいつまでも繰り返してすり寄って触って嗅いで舐めてしまう私を力強く受け止めてくれます。
So everyone watching right now, we paused for a good 10 minutes to look at Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, and this is the exact line we just came back to. That's, okay. Yeah, that's what we came back to, chat. We were having a very wholesome, talking about Halloween decorations and putting up some cute ones, and this is what we came back to. Alright. Thank you, Kyoko, for brightening our day with your messed up shit. Yeah.
知ってる。
はい、ご存知の通りです。ただ、私を思ってくれているという実感が日に日に増していて、わかるんです。クロウさんが見てくれている。私のことを考えて、その強さがどんどん強くなっていって、たまらないですよね。
My friend, I'm gonna pause.
そうね。
しかもそれだけではなくて、私や四季家のことも真面目に考えて動いてくれています。最近では村人にも認知されているんですよ。
すごいよね、あんたたち。
そうだね。すごいね。
クロウさん、イオ殿にそんな雑な返事をしてはいけません。私たちがすごいのだと褒めていただいているんですから。
すごいのは京子だけどな。君が相手じゃなければ、ここまで変わってはいなかっただろうし。
Thank you to those actually looking at Home Depots. Hold on.
それは、私がクロウさんをお慕いしているので、その力だと思っていただければ。そうですか。私が相手だからですよね。
ああ。そこだけは間違いようがない事実だ。
やった。どうですか、イオ殿。このクロウさんは。
どうかな、先生。
Kyoko leapt at Kaoru to hug him, and he made no effort to avoid her. He was gazing at her with a fond look in his eyes, while simultaneously watching Io and their surroundings cautiously.
いや、すごいよ。あんたっていうより、京子ちゃんがすごい。
That's not a good sign.
クロウさんもすごいですよ。
Oh yeah, no, this man's getting snoo-snoo to death.
わかったわかった。苦労もすごいね。そりゃ変わるわ。
Io sighed and sipped the tea that Kyoko hadn't noticed being served.
京子も飲め。考えるだけ無駄だぞ。
Don't question where it came from. Kaoru lifted his own cup, which he was aware had been lowered from the ceiling.
いただきます。
Oh, I wish I could have seen the animation for that one. Kyoko imitated the other two. Things were quiet. Okay, maybe it won't be as messed up as we thought when they visit.
それにしても先生、ちょっと白々しくないか？
言葉にして教えてあげてるんだから、いいじゃない。
やっぱり、私たちのことを見ていらしたんですね。
Kyoko asked her question with a smile on her face. Io nodded tentatively. Yeah, I don't think Kyoko's is dumb. Like, it's very obvious she knows to a certain point what's going on around her. But at this, I don't think, I think she knows now there's definitely something wrong with the Yasaka. Like, she wasn't expecting just how messed up.
会ってからそれっぽいことずっと言ってるからな。明らかに気づかせようとしてただろ
う。Yeah, it's a warning to her.
道元様は知ってるし、黒とくっつけば京子ちゃんもそのうち知らされるんだからいいでしょ。
それもそうか。
良いのでしょうか。八坂家は出荷の時以外、この一帯から出ない決まりになっているはずですが。
京子ちゃん、建前って分かってて言ってるでしょ。
はい。
Kyaru gave her a sidelong glance. He had expected as much. House Sagusa is in charge of security, but they hate House Shiki. They must need a replacement for them then. When they visited the Sagusa estate, Kyaru could tell they were soldiers, not spies or assassins. Yeah, we see what happens when they try to be spies and assassins. It would be unreasonable to expect them to be able to notice a Yasaka born and raised for stealth.
それも含めて、今後ともよろしくお願いいたします。
Io chose her words very carefully, then adjusted her posture and gave a deep, formal bow.
イオ殿、頭を上げてください。お願いしているのは私たちの方なのですから。
いや、そうでもないぞ。
あら、苦労もわかるようになった？
多少はね。
確かに。
After taking a moment to figure out what he meant, Kyoko bit her lip.
七原島、四季家と本土のつながりがなくなれば、八坂は無用となります。そうならないために、ということですね。
うん。私も、まだまだ研究を続けたいから、四季家が頭を張っててもらわないと困る。
Makes sense. There was a catch in Kyoko's throat when she heard the words research.
そればっかりじゃなくて、趣味も入ってるじゃないか。ここに来る前にも、俺たちを観察してただろ
う。すっごく仲いいのが見れて、最高だったよ。
いいか、京子。八坂の者たちは、もののけだのなんだのと言われているが、本当にそうなのは先生くらいだ。
Kyaru kept his eyes on Iu, who was cackling, even as he spoke to Kyoko.
なんて言い草をするのよ。あんたの方が大概だと思うけど。
So the canon ending the guy was talking about isn't true.
俺は体が強いだけで、頭をからっきしだけど、先生は全部分かった上でやってるじゃないか。
そこを追い抜いてもらわないと、研究者としては面白くないんだけどね。
とてもそうは思えません。
Kyoko was staring at Io with a puzzled look on her face. Kyaru just sighed, which was rare for him.
見た目は若い女だが、何歳なのか俺も知らない。
女に年齢を聞くのは失礼だと教えたでしょ。
だから、知らないって言ってるじゃないか。
可愛らしいと思いますよ。
ほら、あんたもこのくらい言いなさいよ。
だって、その見た目が本当とは限らないしな。
嘘はついてないよ。
だから、本当だとも言ってないじゃないか。
いいね。前より踏み込んでくるようになった。いい傾向だよ。
She's right. In the past, I would have just let it slide. But now I've got an answer for everything she says and does. Okay. I guess that's because I'm worried about how she might influence Kyoko and her family. Perhaps that meant he was really starting to act like Kyoko's fiancé. Kaoru kept his mouth shut tight, while Io continued beaming. Kyoko looked at each of them, then nodded to herself.
つまりイオ殿は変装が得意なのですね。
まあ、私も八坂だからね。
I wonder if she was a waitress.
前任の管理者の実験から生まれて、特に優秀とは言われなかったけど、それなりにね。
ほう。
京子、騙されるな。この人、骨格は伸縮しないが、顔や肉付きは好きに変えられるんだ。それこそ、内臓まで変わるから手に負えない。
バラしすぎじゃない？
自分で言わないからだ。放っておくと、いつまでも京子をからかってたぶらかすだろう。仕事ならともかく、指示だと先生は遊びすぎる。
反論できない。
As Io whined, Kyoko stared at her in disbelief and sighed wearily.
なるほど。クロウさんでも見抜けないのですか？
女性なら無理だ。さっきの街中でも、こちらを伺っているのは分かったが、特定できなかった。茶菓子をいただいていた店の女中の一人だったかもしれないし、通りすがりの小娘や老婆だったかもな。男なら、誰かに化けていて、知り合いだったらわかると思う。仮に先生が道元様になっていたとしても、俺やよほどの手だれでなければ気づかないだろうな。
それはすごい。まるで化け狐のよう。失礼しました。
よく言われるから気にしないでちょうだい。
どちらかといえば、化け猫と呼ばれることが多かった気がするな。
あんたはもっと気にしなさい。ほんと。いつからこんなに口差がなくなったんだか。内心、ずっとそう思ってたの？
いや、今日見て得た印象だ。
He glanced at Kyoko for a split second before returning his gaze to Io.
今までは、どうでもよかったな。
うん、そうだった。
Io conceded to Kiara's matter-of-fact response. Meanwhile, Kyoko was trembling, lips pursed.
クロウさん、
Well, she's gone insane.
もしかして私は思っていた以上に影響を与えているのでしょうか？
そうだな。京子がいなければ、こうなってはいなかった。
いなければ困りますか？
困る。
The mere thought of life without Kyoko sent chills up Kyaru's spine.
そうですか。イオ殿、どうですか？私たちうまくやっていけると思いますか？
Kyoko is the type that if Kyaru ever looked at another woman seriously, oh dear God, what she would do to him.
いい夫婦になるんじゃない？
そのつもりだ。
私もそのつもりですよ。そうですとも。ですのでイオ殿もいつでもお覗きになられてはいかがですか？
Don't invite the kitsune in.
見せつけられるのかな？これ
見せつけてしまいましょう、クロウさん。
依存はないが、練習が必要だな。
練習？
あんたらもうずっと練習してるようなもんでしょうが。
そうなのか？
あれは本番をお楽しみに。
だそうだ。
へえ、 楽しみ楽しみ。
I feel like they're doing this with Kyoko to lure you into like this false sense of security that this is just going to turn into a normal porn game, but we've already seen that's not true. For a split second, there was a flash of hunger in Io's eyes. What she was looking forward to was the children they would have. I wouldn't be surprised if she stole our babies for her research under the pretext of a medical exam. In fact, they would be lucky if that's all she did. Io's passion for blood science went beyond all reason. As the three of them sat together and continued to chatter, there was no way for Kyoko to know it, but there was still something Kyoru hadn't told her. She's getting reminded of this, aren't we?
へえ、すごいじゃないか。よくやったね。
I was right! Holy shit, I was right! When he killed his father, Io praised him for it.
ああ、残念。もっと経過観察もしたかったし、腹としても使えたのに。
And when his mother killed herself, that was how Io felt about it. Still, he didn't hate her. Kyoru didn't understand the concept of hate. However, everything he had learned told him that her behavior was not normal. I was right.
5分。
Kyoko cleared her throat as though to take the floor.
それを承知の上で、他の七名家の動向を教えていただけますか？私と、クロウさんのために。
So Kyoko's not dumb. She knows the other houses are planning something. That must have been why Kyoko wanted to visit House Yusaka in the first place. Io nodded relentingly.
道元様にも報告してあるけど、厄介な動きはないね。一倉、和井、五社、陸号は静かなものだし、二らにしても小せがれが騒いでるだけでいつも通り。
三枝はどうですか？
After a quick glance at Kaoru, Kyoko questioned Io without even making an effort to hide her irritation, to which Io only shook her head.
ガス抜きをしたってところだろう。無断で指揮家を襲った凛花は、三枝の仕事からも外されて謹慎処分。
Okay, so Kyoko does know about that. That's what I was curious about, as if they had told her.
次の党首候補は放火だけど、あれも人格面に問題があるから、どこかで切り捨てて、党下に継がせるつもりじゃない？
なら、当面は問題ないとの判断ですか？
そうだね。
Whoops. Having the question deflected to him, Kyoru took a moment before answering.
小せがれ、二良流星はともかく、当主の龍拳はどうなんだ？見たところ、あの男がおとなしいとは思えなかったが。
Though Kyoru wasn't privy to the full context, Ruken spoke aggressively towards Kyoko. And even put that aside, despite being a man of gentle words, inside he was like a boiling hot lead.
龍拳はもう何年もあんな様子だから何とも言えない。煙ちょろちょろ出してる旧火山みたいなやつだよ。
そうですね。二良様にはおじい様も気を配っていますし、取りこぼしはないと思います。
ならいいんだが。
Kyoru cast his gaze down as both Kyoko and Io looked at him. There were other concerning matters, but this wasn't his place to voice them. Such were the circumstances.
それより、イオ殿、クロウさんの小さい頃の話を聞かせていただけますか？
いいの？
Kyoru raised his head and nodded deeply. There was no others from Yusaka within the Shiki estate. They judged that Kyoru alone would have been enough.
大事なところはもう話してある。
Hence, Io would not have known that he already told her.
本当に心開いちゃってるじゃない。京子ちゃん、ありがとう。
いえ、私の方こそ。
そう言うだろうけど、この子は心と体の基盤は最高によくって。ほんと傑作で、生まれたのを見た瞬間、絶頂して漏らしちゃったくらいよかったのよ。
Everybody in this is insane, except Kaoru.
はい。
I love Kyoko's like, wait a minute, am I not the craziest one in the room? What is this? I'm supposed to be the craziest one in the room. What's going on?
でも、わかるでしょ？人らしくするのができなくってね。そもそも人になる前の人だから、そういう仕組みがないのか、当てはまらないのか、噛み合わなくてさ。
I don't know. Kiaru seems pretty inhuman to me. She just seems like the type that has no problem killing.
傑作なのに、だからこそ人になれないなんて最低じゃない？それも悔しくてさ。だってそれは私の敗北だし。でも私がやるのにこだわりすぎてたんだなって気づいてよかったよ。京子ちゃんがいたのも幸運だった。
Kiwi, you're not getting it off.
なるほど。
Kyoko responded affirmatively. Perhaps she understood or perhaps not.
つまり、私とクロウさんは運命で結ばれていたと。
Hold on.
そうなんじゃないかな。
Kyoko stole a glance at Kaoru. Io did likewise.
クロウさん、席を外していただけますか？
先生が責任持って見てくれるならいいが。
任せてちょうだい。
Kyaru gave a short but vigorous nod, and Io stepped up.
一応理由を聞いてもいいか？
これからクロウさんのあられもない幼少期のお話を聞きたいと思うのですが、表情を崩さずにいる自信がないのでお願いします。
Kyoko was already blushing, hiding her face, and moaning. Jesus, girl.
ほら、シッシッ。これから私と京子ちゃんは大事な話をするんだから、出て行きなさい。
わかってるよ。
Get out, it's girl talk time. Kyaru stepped out into the hallway as if being pushed out. As he proceeded down the hall, he let thoughts brew. I told you guys you're getting a long episode today. They were about another concerning matter, the marriage ceremony. Dugan had already decided to hold it only amongst their relatives rather than make it a grand event for the rest of the 7 families. While it was certain that the Futaro would not come, it would only serve to underline the bad blood between the 2 clans. And by not coming, the Futaro would lose face. Therefore, while they could send over congratulatory gifts, the members of the 7 families would not be invited in order to let them save face. The same went for the Sugusa, who would normally have served as security. Having the Yasaka provide the security would only cause them to lose face and unquestionably rupture the ties between the families. As for Rinka's insubordination, Renge had already doled out her punishment. By the way, thank you for using that image and not the other one. Since there were no deaths from the Shiki family, it would have been less severe than a death sentence. Rinka's incident had left her leadership skills in question. Her chance of becoming the head of the family had probably been squashed. Of course, she was also removed from the security detail. It's not my place to speak about this. Judging from Dugan and Eel's behavior, the relationship between the 7 families had always been this bitter. Things are going to be all right, but there are still uncertainties. Are we really going to continue like this? The relationship dragged on, leaving nothing but bitterness and problems from the future. It was worse than just killing someone. But if I get to be with Kyoko, well, it's all right. Leaving it at that, Kyaru breathed a sigh. Making sure he didn't eavesdrop, he sensed the presence of something. Did anyone just see a flash of black? This game is weird. The presence of something within the room. Kyoko and Io seem to be enjoying themselves. Let's kill some time then. He began walking from the manor to the forest. Their visit settled, they made their way back. The sun began to set. So that's where we're going to leave it for today. So thank you guys for joining me. You guys are awesome as always. Bye, guys.